Colleagues, welcome to this 11th episode of our conversations. Today I'm going to share my views concerning the recently concluded by-election in Serere, but taking it on from the perspective of participating in the despots' processes generally, and evaluating whether we stand to gain or we lose more than we achieve through our participation in such processes. Well, the Serere by-election, of course, was like any other election in Uganda. Now, the biggest challenge that there is that the opposition has, up to this point, failed to come up with a position that harmonizes all our efforts and deciding whether we should really be taking part in some of these processes. Now, many arguments are advanced as to why the opposition should continue to take part in these elections, whether they are general elections or by-elections. And one of them is that these processes are used as a mobilization platform for the opposition. That unlike other times when the state really comes out to, brutally suppress all efforts aimed at organizing and mobilizing the population towards the cause of the opposition, that during elections there is a relatively unhampered access to the voters, and that therefore the opposition sells its programs with little interference. Now, we really need to ask ourselves, what is the end objective, the end state that we envision in this whole struggle? Because we've had numerous opportunities, if I may call them that, to mobilize the nation. Since 1996, the opposition has been going out to organize. And after every 5 years, that same opportunity presents itself. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is, has this platform helped to broaden and expand the democratic space, or is the democratic space narrowing in spite of these opportunities we've been given to mobilize the nation towards the agenda for change? And I will assert without any fear of contradiction that actually the space is narrowing in spite of the very many years that we have had to mobilize. It is time that the opposition broke off from participating in these pigsty processes, these phantom processes, which create an illusion in the minds of the population that we are actually making headway, that we are making progress, while actually we are suffering a regression. Because if we are to study the democracy curve in Uganda, it's not progressing, it's not making headway, it is regressing. The despot is coming out even more forcefully to roll back whatever, achievements that had ever been registered, if at all they were there. So I think that it is time we decided as a united front, as a united opposition front, to draw a line in the sand and start organizing to overwhelm the despot through means organized and controlled by ourselves. Because to think that we are going to ride on the back of a process organized and managed by the despot to get rid of him is really to delude ourselves. Yes, some people will always say that, oh, we've participated in the past, so why must we not participate now? Struggles like the one we are involved in requires praxis. Praxis is basically action and reflection. That whenever you take an action, then you get to a certain point where you step back to appreciate the impact of your actions. So it is action and reflection. You act and then reflect upon your actions. Now it is that reflection that then informs your next course of action. So there was a time when, yes, indeed, it was necessary to take part in these elections. But now the whole country is actually of the same mind that we need a regime change. But the question is the action that helped us to get this whole mass of citizens to rally behind the agenda for change, therefore the same action that is going to take us to the next level? And the answer is no. So, since there is a critical mass of people that want change, we now must modify our means towards taking this mass to the next course of action. People cry change, but somehow they are still within their comfort zones. Elections in Uganda have only served to tear apart the opposition. Think of any political party in the opposition. Look at the conflicts they have within those parties, and you will realize that all of them stem from elections. Whether it is general elections or even internal electoral processes. When people compete in these elections, they end up splitting. Others end up, either going independent or outrightly joining the enemy. I know many of you don't want to call him an enemy, but the despot is the enemy of our democracy, and we should call him as such. So why would we want to participate in processes organized by our enemy? Because when we start, deceiving ourselves that you see they are opponents, we are the alternative, no, we are dealing with an enemy and we should deal with him as such. We must have nothing to do with his processes. It's not until we have appreciated that we will stand a reasonable chance of removing him from power. When the Egyptians got tired of Hosni Mubarak, they did not think about his elections. In Sudan, Omar Bashir, the Sudanese did not wait for him to organize elections so that they get rid of him. In Algeria, Aziz Bouteflika had actually organized an election, and people said, no, we don't want your election, we want you out. But for us today, people have already started, positioning themselves for 2026. Be they in NRM or in the opposition. If anyone takes just a look at what is circulating on social media, it is posters. People are already, selling themselves as the candidates for 2026. But we are still in 2023. The election that was held in 2021, the office bearers of the 2021 election have even not yet done half of their term. And we are already, up as if the election is tomorrow. What is that supposed to mean? It means that our minds are being focused on, phantom exercises, taking our attention away from what actually needs to be done. And I think that it's time. Those who really hunger for change, we need to come up and start taking robust action outside the cosmic galaxy of the despot, outside his control, outside his processes, and make sure that we get rid of him as quickly as possible, if we indeed believe that we need change. But these processes, these elections, these by-elections will only serve to further strain an already acrimonious relationship within the opposition. That every time we are building towards cooperation, when an election comes in, all that is swept away, and then we go back to zero. And even if anyway the opposition had won that seat, what would one seat change in that parliament? When we weigh the advantages that we would get from one more seat for the opposition against the unity that has been sacrificed, the opposition unity that has been sacrificed, what weighs more? Is one seat worth an acrimonious relationship in the opposition, or is opposition unity much, much more valuable than one or two seats in parliament? So we really need to do our calculations well. And I am hopeful that we are all well-meaning, but maybe we have not taken a trouble to do a critical analysis of the situation. If we don't do that, then we will continue sweating in vain. It's time we came together. And let nobody be deceived. There is no single group on its own that is going to kick out the despot. We will only achieve our objective when we work together, when we subordinate personal interests to the greater goal of national unity and liberation. If you throw back your eyes, you realize that every time we have acted together, we have been strong. Remember the Mabera demonstrations. Remember the walk to work. Remember the Kayunga incident. Remember the Tojokwata call. You were there, I was in jail, but at least I was following. So when we work together, we are strong. Unity is strength. Thank you very much.